Very good. So, I kept this last night. Even though when you asked the question, can you please give us a Dhamma talk about the Eightfold Path again if possible, and then in the next morning talks? And I said, no. So, it's okay to change your mind. So let's talk a little bit about the Eightfold Path. Now, first of all, it's one of my favourite quotes from the Dhammapada. I think it's in the Magga Wagga of the Dhammapada, I think verse 372, which goes, Ezo wa maggo nati anyo dasanasa visuddhya. And I just, Ezo wa maggo nati anyo dasanasa visuddhya. And I just say that because sometimes people think that Ajahn Brahm makes it up as he goes along, which is there's some truth in that. But there's also, it is founded just on basic Buddhist teachings. And this was one quote which was really powerful because it really literally means this is the only path, there is no other, for the purity of insight. So, and what does that refer to? And you just look at the passage before that. What it's referring to is the Eightfold Path. So you see that when you start looking at the teachings of the Buddha, the suttas, which is really the only reference point you can really get, for the path, the theory, just what actually did the Buddha say. That's pretty accurate. And anyone who doubts the accuracy of the teachings of the Buddha in the suttas, we always refer you to a wonderful little piece of research which was done by Ajahn Brahm together with Ajahn Sujato, called the Authenticity Project. We don't have a copy of it here because it's always online for free, so just people can download it somewhere, Authenticity Project. And what it was people always saying, oh, we can't be sure what the Buddha really taught. What did he teach? What did he not teach? And it's also finding out, how you can reasonably, logically, evidence-based find out. There's a very nice little document there, which is not all of the suttas, is original teaching of the Buddha. You can actually find some places which are really dodgy. And not because you don't agree with them, but because there's other arguments to say, well, this was probably added a little bit afterwards. But the majority, 99%, is very easy to prove to be authentic. And so, the Eightfold Path, this is the only path, there is no other for the purity of insight. And whenever you read the Buddha's teachings in the suttas, it's again and 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 again. It is the Eightfold Path. That is actually how people become enlightened. And that Eightfold Path, sometimes it's looked at from other angles, like the gradual training, which is a very wonderful little way of looking at the Eightfold Path, but from a different angle. And it's starting off with getting inspiration. You get inspiration in hearing some teachings, and from that inspiration, then one can start keeping your precepts, restraint of the senses. And we all have restraint of the senses, because you can't just do whatever your defilements tell you to do. We're a society, even in football, they have rules, and you get a red card and sent off if you go past those rules, and there's a good reason for that. It may be dangerous, it may be cheating. So we all have to have some sort of restraint, with whatever we do in our lives. And because of that, we just take that restraint a bit further, and just for the purpose of being peaceful. There's nothing evil or sinful about just going to the corner here and just getting a movie on Netflix or something because you're bored out of your skull with all this meditation and you just want to go and watch something just to chill out for a few. But there's nothing sinful or wrong about that, but it's like a wasting of time. So for the purpose of developing the mind, developing some inner power, we restrain. And there's something about when you do restrain, when you do let go, it gives you this big boost of energy. It's strange, but every time when I sort of gave up something, let go of something, and honestly, that there was, for 3 months, some years ago, I decided to give up tea. Now that's a big sacrifice for an English monk. And I said, no, I'm not going to take any tea, for this rains retreat. And that was the time that Ajahn Brahm was here. And he, as soon as I announced I was not going to drink tea for a whole 3 months, then he came up to me and said, please don't do that. Please, 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 don't do that. Why not? He said, because I was living with another monk who did that, and it was the worst rains retreat I ever had. He was so miserable, even more angry and grumpy, and I don't want you to be like that. No worries. And so I just gave it up for 3 months, no problem at all. In fact, I had a huge amount of energy. It wasn't the energy of giving up caffeine. It was just the energy of knowing that you can just let go, that the Dharma was more powerful than your defilements. That's all it is. So whenever you do let go of something, give up something, you get a boost of energy and boost of power. Because you're not just always going with the cravings. And I say it's that understanding the 2 types of freedom in this world. The freedom of desire, where you just, whatever you want, whenever you want it, you can get it. That's one of the things with the idea of a pure land. It doesn't really make any sense to me, because whenever you get whatever you want, whenever you want it, it's just there for you. That is no way to prepare yourself for enlightenment. In fact, it's the opposite. But when you say freedom from desire, you just don't want anything. And you just see, it's not what you have or what you possess, it's the wanting which is the problem. And you feed it, and it gets stronger and stronger and stronger. So sometimes you wonder about this world, how much do people need? Okay, this is really bad for the economy, because people always want you to consume more, buy more, and try and trick you into, if you haven't sort of upgraded your car, or if you haven't got your second house, or if you haven't got your holidays overseas, or if you haven't got enough in your retirement fund so you could go cruising all over the world once you're retired, then you've missed out on life. And sometimes you really wonder, what are you talking about? Sometimes just letting go of craving and desires is just wonderful. It feels so peaceful. So the story, to illustrate this, there was a couple of monks years ago, they told me this story, that they were going to somebody's house, for the morning meal, and they were just sitting there, just waiting for things to be prepared. And in the house of these really good Buddhists, there was a fish tank, an aquarium. And one of the monks said, that is not Buddhist, to keep fish in an aquarium. It's like putting someone in a prison. Now, what did those fish do? What bad karma did they do to be confined in this glass box just for the entertainment of people? And sometimes I think that's what I'm like. Sitting there, smile, tell a few jokes. Just have a little fish in a tank. And that's actually from Ajahn Chah. He used to say that. So he went to see this great monk, Ajahn Chah, and says, Ajahn Chah, what's it like? How are you going? And he said, just like a little monkey in a cage. People keep poking me this way, poking me that way, making me do all this stuff. And that's what Ajahn Chah said. Anyway, the fish in the aquarium. And so what they done, that's really bad. If you're a real Buddhist, you should not keep fish like that in a confined space. It's not fair. It's not compassionate. And then the other monk, who was a really good monk, and he said, hey, you don't understand what you're talking about. Because a fish in an aquarium, it's true that they're confined. They can't go and swim where they want to. But they have many advantages. Number one, have you ever seen someone dropping a fishing line in an aquarium in your house? So number one, in an aquarium, in a fish tank, in a person's house, they're free from the danger of fishermen. Now imagine what it must be like to be a fish in the wild. You know, you see a nice little worm wriggling in there, you think, oh, great lunch. But you see many of your friends take hold of that worm and just get yanked out and don't know where they've gone, but you never see them again. It's like being kidnapped, fishnapped. And imagine what it must be like. If you've seen that a few times, imagine like you go to lunch and you're sitting there at lunch and you go to bite something, you go straight through the roof and never seen again. That would make you very paranoid about eating delicious food. So much so you probably have irritable bowel syndrome, indigestion, because just eating a worm would be so traumatic. You don't know whether you're going to live after this or not. So imagine what fish must be like in the wild. What they eat, they don't know whether it's going to be the last meal or not. And off they go. But if you're in a tank, you don't have to worry about that at all. You can eat and relax. So fish in the tank, number one, they're free from the fear of fishermen. Number two, you know, sometimes even in the wild, sometimes there's lots of food, sometimes not so much food. And you've got to go searching for it and fighting other fish for it. But in a fish tank, it's like having takeaway. It comes to the top of the tank 2 or 3 times a day. They're very balanced, nutritious and healthy. You don't even have to fight for it, it's just there. So that's number two. You never go hungry. In the wild, you know, sometimes there's a drought, sometimes there's a flood. But in a fish tank, the water's always at the right level. So you never run out of water, never have too much out of water, it's just really stable. And also in the wild, sometimes there is hot and sometimes cold. But for fish in a tank, it's like living in an air-conditioned apartment. Always just a nice temperature. And there's also the case that, fish in the wild, if you live in the streams, you don't know what other big fish are lurking around the corner. You know, some places, some streams, you know, it'd be very dangerous for little fish to go around and get eaten up by a big fish. But they never put fish in a tank who eat one another. They're all friends in the tank. So in other words, they're free from the danger of being beaten up or eaten by other fish. They've got no worries at all. And lastly, fish in a tank, if ever they get sick, they get free health cover. If you're in the wild, you just have to enjoy the pains. So look at it, fish in a tank, they're free from the danger of other fishermen, they're free from being eaten by bigger fish, they're free from hunger, free from cold, free from lack of water, and they get good health cover. Pretty good deal. So yeah, you lose a little bit of freedom to travel here and go there, but the advantages are far greater. For a fish who wants a peaceful life, choose a water tank in somebody's house. So which one would you like? So anyway, that was the simile of keeping precepts. Yeah, when you keep the 5 precepts or the 8 precepts, there's many places you can't go at night. You can't just go out over the fence and go down to the pub at night. You can't sort of ring up and say, I'm really hungry tonight, can I have a pizza? Home delivery. You can't obviously get it through the gate over here, but you can go over to the lookout, and they know where the lookout is, and they can deliver it there, so no one, no one knows. Don't worry, you'll get busted. So there's many things you can't do when you keep the precepts, but you have freedom from so many problems of being a monk. There's so many things I can't do, so many places I can't go, so many things I just can't even indulge in. But you're free from so many problems. free from the danger of a wife. Free from the danger of kids only coming to see you when you want some money. Free from the danger of losing my job. No chance of that at all. I will never get fired. What else? No, free from the danger, what else? I don't know. But anyway, yeah, there's many things you can't do, but you're safe from so many things. That's why the precepts is a trade-off. When you renounce the restraint, you find you can be much more peaceful. Many things you can't do, but did you really want to do them anyway? So that is why we have this beautiful restraint. We realize that if you want excitement in life, fine. Just, don't come to a monastery. Just, go and join the Hells Angels. That's exciting. If you want an adventure holiday, go to Syria. If you want. I do. It's amazing all these things they say that people told me once that there's a program on the TV apparently in Australia called Q&A, and they were discussing terrorism and how solutions to terrorism. And the person who was on the panel, he was a former editor. I don't think actually he was still working as an editor of the Spectator magazine in London. And it's quite a well-known journal. And he was there visiting Australia, so I had him on the panel and said, what is your solutions to the terrorist problem all over the world? And he said, simple. He said, I just read, I think the journal published, a little experiment which was done in Sussex University in UK, where they got a few people to meditate. And they found everybody around them, they didn't meditate, but when a few people meditated, everybody around them, they calmed down, they got less aggressive, less violent. So it's a little study which was shown, not just the people meditating, but just like the elephant effect, which I was saying earlier. Elephant in a cage, there's bad people outside, the elephant gets affected, the monks are outside, or the nuns, and then the elephant really calms down and gets not quite still. There's an effect there, which we rub off on each other. So he said, when there's lots of monks there meditating, everyone becomes peaceful and calm. So this editor, Spectator, he suggested, get the experts in. Why don't we parachute, not sort of soldiers, but parachute Buddhist monks into Syria, and that will solve the problem. But that's how I heard about it. And so what I started thinking? I started thinking, I can think of about 3 or 4 monks I'd like to That's a pretty mean thought. I'm sure the fellow Hasabanya could also think of a few nuns you'd love to parachute for a good cause, out of compassion. So anyway, so sometimes that it is true that when a person is peaceful and calm, it does affect other people. So it's good to have some restraint, to sort of let go, and that's part of the path. It's but how do we restrain? If you restrain with force, I've kept on saying this again and again and again. People are actually, don't speak or I'll shoot you. Of course that doesn't work, because there's something terribly wrong there, just or hit you or shout at you. Because when one understands what the path is, the restraint is there out of kindness. You're not sort of putting those fish in the tank because they've done something wrong, you're trying to punish them. It's out of kindness. You put little limits around them so they're safe. So that's actually the same with our precepts. They come from the right view that, you're missing out something, but also you're gaining something. Gaining a lot. It's a wonderful sense of freedom and peace. And again, it's weird. People go to a monastery or go to a retreat, There's all these things you can't do, but you feel so free, so light, so peaceful. You ever understood why that is? You come here and it's just so free and peaceful and light, because you're free of the dangers, you're free of desires. Not totally, but a lot. What do you need? Nothing much. So anyway, that right view, the right motivation of kindness, of gentleness, and of letting go, you find that becomes the path. If you haven't got that far of the Eightfold Path, haven't understood, I thought you've got to go for it, push, and just really struggle and strive. You see many people like that. And they are pains in the butt for other people. Honestly, they go home afterwards, after the retreat, and then they tell their partner, "Shut up, I want to continue my meditation. Don't disturb me." I mean, what type of person is that? You don't have to control other people to become nice and peaceful. Just you change your attitude. Just you make peace with the world. We all know we can't change the world. People have been trying that for years. We just change our attitude, change our perception. You see me saying that so often in this retreat. Something bad happens to you, it's treading in the dog shit. Great, more fertilizer for me. You have an ache or a pain in the body. Great, now I can ask my partner to look after me. The Buddha said, looking after someone who is sick is like looking after the Buddha. Imagine how much great merit that is. So next time you're sick at home, quote that, looking after the sick is like looking after the Buddha. And so wife, now's your opportunity to make good karma. Real good karma. Forget about the monks. The monks, this is actually looking after the Buddha, looking after me. I'm sick, okay, pamper me. It doesn't work. People have tried that. But anyway, it's true. Just, we can allow ourselves to be sick. We learn so much from sickness. Number one, it's just normal. So don't stigmatize it. Just let it be. And just, when you really relax with the sickness, you're not afraid of it. You'll either get better or you'll die. Either way, it's not going to last, so you're not going to suffer forever. It's wonderful. You can just enjoy it. Why not? So anyway, yeah, I'm in pain. Yeah, but you learn a lot from that. So yeah, it's hard to endure, but afterwards, think, wow, thank you, I learned so much. So anyway, this is actually where we don't fight the world. We make peace with it. But isn't that just a cop-out? Isn't that just things will go wrong? What about everybody else? If you're peaceful, you're no longer part of the problem, you're part of the solution. You're spreading peace in this world. It's a wonderful thing you can do. Just a peaceful person coming into a room makes everything else peaceful. An angry person coming into the room, everyone just gets really uptight. So it's wonderful what we can actually do, just by the effect of letting things be, letting go, and not fighting the world. You find that all the problems... This was actually not Descartes, I'll remember his name in a minute, but it was a French philosopher, mathematician, Laplace, who said that all the problems, he said mankind, humankind, all the problems of humankind coming from not knowing how to sit still. Great little saying, that's about 400 years ago. Come from not knowing how to sit still. So just sit still. It's amazing just how many things heal themselves. So we learn how to renounce, to let go of our desires, and just be contented and easily satisfied. Such a peaceful life. And then if we can do that, that's our precepts are so easy. All the bad speech and the bad actions, it's always just trying to get what I want, or trying to push people out of the way or get in the way of what I want. It all comes from wanting and craving and desire, those bad actions or bad livelihood. So all your precepts, they just come very easily. People ask me sometimes, isn't it really difficult being a monk, all those precepts you have to remember? I don't remember them. I just practice them. It's just common sense. then why do you want to sort of stir up your mind doing stupid things? So why do I want to steal anything? I've got too much anyway. I always try and give up things. When I go overseas, people keep giving me stuff, and I just want to give them away. You come and over from Sri Lanka and give me some tea. Actually, we've got lots of tea here in Australia. I can only take so much tea. Oh, they give me, okay, what else can I get you, Ajahn Brahm? Get you some chocolates. Oh, big stack of chocolates. So what do? Give them away. So what else do you give me? People always ask me, what can I get you, Ajahn Brahm? So I've got my shoes over there. People say, oh, can I get you another pair of shoes? These ones haven't worn out yet. I'll give you a robe. This one's okay. I'll give you a Gucci robe. Oh, come on, forget it. So what do you actually need? Nothing. But what I do sometimes, that I do accept all that stuff you give me. And then at the end of the year, when it comes to my birthday, I give it to Lee, who auctions it off, to raise money for some other monastery or something somewhere. So that's actually a really good deal, isn't it? Every year, she goes into my cave or into my room and just sees what's there and takes it away. And sometimes, she does actually ask, but sometimes I forget. So I remember this time, the blanket. I went in my room there and, I went to sleep in the evening. In the middle of the night, it was really cold, so I reached for my blanket. Where's my blanket gone? It was gone, it was auctioned. It's great. That was a really wonderful thing to do. I didn't die. It was okay not having a blanket. But sometimes I go in there and check, is everything here? It doesn't matter. It's just kind. So you don't need very much. It's wonderful. So because of that, you keep these wonderful precepts and you let go. And it's much easier letting go. You see you've all been in that cave by now. There's nothing much there. What do you need? I've got a little clock there. And I've got some water. I hardly ever use a heater because it gets really cold. Got a light, Buddha, a nice place to meditate. What do you need? So it's great when you sort of have, and when people go there, they think, oh, I wish I could live like this. Imagine if you lived like that. Just a little cave, and that's all you need. You're comfortable. Number one, no mortgage, no bank debts, no struggling to pay off, the remaining part of your mortgage. And it's so easy to clean. Actually, I don't clean it because other people do that for me. But imagine that's all you have to clean. Such a simple world. So, when you have few things, this is part of the gradual training. Just be content with little. And they have this wonderful simile, just content with the bowl to feed you and the robes to clothe you, and that's all. And you had this wonderful time in my life. I always look back upon this with such peace and happiness. After 5 years in our tradition, in Thailand, you would actually get almost kicked out of the monastery. Off you go, travel. But never in a car or in a vehicle walking. And if you walk, you don't need a credit card or a bus ticket, because it was Thailand, a good monk, wherever you walk, you'd always can go into a village and they'll give you something to eat, at least some rice or something, to keep you going. There's always water available, except, if you're in those mountains, you have to rely on Devas to give you a Pepsi Cola. But it was so free. You had everything, which you were carrying on your back. And of course, you started off with really heavy. And half of it you gave up after a couple of days, you didn't need it. All that just in case. All those possessions based on fear. You let that all go. You had this wonderful time where you could walk really lightly, everything you owned. Everything you owned, you had nothing left in the monastery stored away for you. You had no bank accounts, no safety nets. Everything you owned in the world was on your back, you were carrying it, and it was so light. And you had no destination, that was the best part. You were wandering. So you got to a crossroad. Should I turn left? Should I turn right? Should I go on? Or should I turn around and go back again? Absolutely free choice. You were like the bird flying through the air, carrying only the weight of its wings. And it was from that story of the Buddha that you started looking in the sky. And to this day, I've never seen a bird with a backpack, with a suitcase, or with a bum bag. They don't have those. And they fly so far. So it's wonderful, that type of freedom. That was called the joy of restraint, the happiness of a simple life. And you taste that when you come here. I mean, not everyone can become monks and nuns. Well, you can, but you won't. But we can always simplify, downsize. Yeah, how many rooms can you stay in? Downsize. You don't need a swimming pool in your backyard. Especially here in Australia, you can go to the beach. It's for free and you don't have to clean it. You don't need a garden in the back. The gardens you have to mow, plant and stuff like that. No, you can go to the park. Somebody else does that for you. You don't even need these days, and go to places in Sydney and they don't even have a kitchen. You don't want to spend your time when you come home from work cooking and washing up and all that stuff. You just go downstairs. There's lots of shops outside where you can get a food, and they're much better cooks than you are. And they do all the washing up for you. So sometimes you can live simply, if you really want to. And that's actually, you see that trend these days. There's houses are so expensive, there's not enough room to fit everybody in. So you can see this idea of simplicity, downsizing, sharing. Now it's part of our modern world because it's more freedom, more happiness. So anyway, there we go. So we keep all our precepts. But it's hard to keep precepts. It's hard to keep the wanting in check, because sometimes you think, this is a nice little story now. It's a bhikkhuni story, but it can well apply to a monk. There was a very wonderful bhikkhuni who lived in a cave, had hardly any possessions at all. And there she went on alms round one morning, and when she came back from her alms round, she saw that her robe, she didn't take all the robes with her, a spur robe, a mouse had bitten a hole in the robe. And it wasn't the first time this pesky mouse had bitten a hole in the robe. So she had to get out a piece of rag and just patch up the hole. And even I had to learn how to do that, learn how to sew, even by hand. And so she made patched up the hole in her robe. And then as she was patching up, just such a burden having to keep on patching her robe because this mouse kept on. So how can you can't leave a mouse trap up there to kill the mouse. So what could she do? And so if I had a cat, the cat would chase the mice away. Because even the smell of a cat, the mice would just run away. She said, I'll get a cat. And it'd be a nice little company for me. So she went into the village, and when they asked her, anything you need? She said, yeah, a cat. So there's plenty of cats. You know what it's like when cats have little babies. There's so many kittens, you can't give them away. So that actually happened in monastery, but I'm a really smart monk, so we had a couple of kittens, which appeared, I don't know where they appeared for, so easy to get rid of them. I took them to Nolamara temple on a Friday night, and after the meditation, I just let them loose and gave a talk on compassion. And these cute little kittens are running all over the place, and can I have one, can I have one? I know about marketing. And they're all taken away that day. But anyway, so easy to get a little kitten, a little cat. So, great. So the mouse ran away. But then there was another problem. If you've got a cat, you've got to feed it. And cats don't eat rice and curry. So, had to get some milk. So I kept on asking the villagers, can I have some milk, can I have some milk? And she had to carry this milk back to feed the cat. And then that was just a burden, always having to get milk and carry it back and make sure the cat was okay. So she thought, well, you know, if I had a cow, then I wouldn't have to keep bothering the people, lay people, for milk. So, it was one of those days of big alms offering. So I said, what do you need, Ayah, for your temple? I said, a cow. Okay, that's lots of merit. So I thought, so they gave her a cow. And so she had a cow. So she never needed to ask for milk anymore. She milked the cow, got the milk for the cat to keep the mouse away. But then, of course, needed something for the cow to eat now. So she kept on asking for hay. And that was really heavy to take back from the village. And after a while, that was just a burden. People got a bit upset, always asking for hay. And then, so she thought, what can I do? If I had my own field, I could put the cow in the field. I wouldn't need to ask for hay. And I could go and milk it to get milk for the cat to keep the mouse away. So I don't need to keep patching my rope. What a good idea. So I had this big alms offering. Sometimes you have like katina ceremonies. Everybody comes, gives lots of funds, or maybe it was the nun's birthday, they did an auction and got enough money to buy a field. So the cow could eat the grass, so he didn't need to get some hay, to get the milk, to feed the cat, to keep the mouse away. But then it was such a bother, just going every day to catch the cow, to get the milk. So I thought, what if I had a temple attendant, a little boy? And the little boy, could do the chores, and in return I'd teach it some Dhamma and maybe some other things about life, and also just, being close to me, I can actually get a really naughty boy and just train it to become a bit more mindful, a bit more kind. So she asked the villagers if there's any naughty boys who want to be trained. And of course, there was no shortage of those in the village. So she got one of the boys to look after the cow, to provide the milk, to feed the cat, to keep the mouse away. But, you can't have, the nun's rules. You can't have a boy staying in the same cave as the nun. So they had to get a little house outside, only a simple hut outside the cave, to house the boy, to look after the cow, to get the milk, to feed the cat, to keep the mouse away so she didn't have to patch her robes. And that's, Venerable Karunika, you've done lots of building. You notice how much of a pain in the up here and everywhere that is. To go get the plans and get the materials, and then someone says, don't build it this way, build it that way. And then once you go to design, the council says, no, you can't do it that way because it's bushfires, and it's got to get it engineered, And so she was spending so much time building this hut for the boy to keep the cow in the field so that they can get milk to feed the cat to keep the mouse away. But when somebody came and asked her, for a question on Dhamma, sorry, I'm too busy. I've got to go to the village about the house for the boy, to look after the cow in the field, to get the milk, to feed the cat, to keep the mouse away. And at that, sort of little alarm bell rang in her head. This is all just to keep a mouse away. So I don't need to sew a patch in my robe. And she thought, So she understood. So she told the workmen to go home, take the wood away with them for the house, and forget about building any house. Sold the cow, or rather gave it away, gave the field back to whoever gave it, and gave the cat away. And so she was back to where she started from, and she went on alms round without a cat, without a cow, without a field, without any boy, temple boy, just by herself, as she was before. And when she came back from arms round, she noticed there was another hole in her robe. The mouse had come back. And happily, delightfully, she sewed a patch. End of the story. But that's actually what materialism comes from. Just to increase it, to make it better. And once we do it, then we'll be happy. Once we finish building Dhammasara, then we can relax and just enjoy it. You know just how much gomayang that is. Once you've built it, you've got to look after it. You've got to extend it. You've got to insulate it. You've got to clean it. You've got to... Anyway, so it was a wonderful time as a monk when you just had no cat. You had not even a cave. You had no cow, no field. Just walked. So free. The less you had, the more free you felt. You understand what I mean there? Sometimes here, you don't own much. How free are you? We always think that our possessions are convenient. But a few times you have nothing. Notice how convenient that is, how free it is. So anyway, there we go, as that's the restraint. And it takes a bit of wisdom and a bit of effort to say no, which is the right effort. It's all about restraining. Saying, no, I'm not going to do this. I'm not going to follow the old habits. It takes a lot of effort to not speak, to keep quiet. When someone speaks at you, you keep quiet. It takes a lot of effort just to be calm and peaceful, because you're going against the stream, the old habits. It takes a lot of effort to disappear, because we always want to say, hey, here I am, look at me, speak, do something. Be the one who sits here the longest at night. See, that's me. I found myself doing that years ago. I decided I'm going to really be the last person in the hall at night. That was my vow. And so, after the talk, then I started meditating, and after about half an hour I started really getting sleepy and hurting. I opened one eye. Damn it, there's two people still here. Closed my eyes again. And I heard someone shuffle. I said, yes, I can go now. Damn it, no, they just changed postures. It's crazy our ego and sense of self, what it actually does. Or you got in the walking meditation hall, the slow walking. And you have this competition, who can walk the slowest? So there's somebody next to you, and you walk really slow, and they walk really slow. And you go even slower, and they go even slower. Okay, some of those tales. In England, in Sussex, I think did I tell you that? I think I told that story recently about when the only place they could have a meditation retreat was this old house. First night, did I tell it? Okay. Well, the other one here, when there was not my retreat, but another retreat was being held here. And there was like one of the Vipassana retreats where they did a really slow walking, all together. So, you sit together, and when they ring the bell, that's when you do the slow walking together in the grounds. And it just happened that there was a visitor, and they asked, it's okay if I just have a go and look at Jhana Grove? I said, yes, but be quiet. People are meditating there. They had a kid with them, about a 7-year-old kid. I said, yeah, but you have to be very quiet. I said, okay, I'll promise Ajahn Brahm. They came over here. They were quiet when they were here, but then they immediately went to see me in Bodhinyana Monastery, and the kid, his eyes were wide. He said, Ajahn Brahm, Ajahn Brahm, Ajahn Brahm, you've got to go over and see your retreat centre. Zombies are there. There's zombies. Full of zombies. Because apparently that in zombies, they had a whole fashion for zombie movies. And zombies, they always walk slowly. And there's a lot of similarity with slow walking meditation and a zombie. And this kid, he couldn't tell the difference, and he thought there were zombies. And he was terrified. So to this day we call that zombie meditation. But it just keep it natural. Not to stand out, it takes a lot of restraint. Just be natural, just be normal. No need to excel. Just be. You don't need to be a perfect tree. Just, you're bent, crooked, fine, you belong. So this is where we find some peace. And of course, to be able to do that, once you've restrained stuff, then you can actually be quite mindful. In the Satipatthana Sutta, you have a look at it, and before you even try to begin any of the 4 Satipatthanas, it says, Vinaya Lokaya Bija Domanassa, which all the commentaries agree on this, and is very good ground for this. What that means is having restrained the 5 hindrances. Before you even start Satipatthana, the 5 hindrances: wanting, ill will, sloth and torpor, restlessness and doubt. They've got to be restrained first of all. And that's what the first part of the Eightfold Path does. You have the right view, the right intention, the right motive, letting go, being kind, being gentle. That is what restrains the 5 hindrances, not willpower. By your precepts, that restrains the hindrances. The effort to say no, that restrains the hindrances. So all those factors, right view, right motivation, speech, action, livelihood, and the vayama, the endeavor, all of those serve the purpose of softening, restraining, weakening your 5 hindrances. How on earth can you be mindful when you're wanting something over there? You're not really looking at how it feels to want. You just, what would it be like when I get that? Instead of when you're angry and ill will, you're never actually in here. You're always looking at the object of your hatred, of your ill will. She slammed the door again this morning. He just snores so loudly. Why is he in the room next to me? All of those ill will. You're looking at something else outside of you. Never look what's inside of you. You're not mindful at all of how it's burning you. And of course, when you're restless, you're not here. You're just all over the place. How can you be mindful when the mind is so restless, and when you're sleepy? You don't even know what you're doing. And of course, the doubt, being in the mist, being lost. Like the story because the Buddha gave the simile of doubt as being lost in a desert, in a wilderness. And I always like quoting the story of this fellow who was lost in the desert for days and days and days. Much worse than when I was really dehydrated. This fellow was on his hands and knees, crawling under the really blazing sun. Maybe only a couple of hours life left in him. Really close to death. In the wilderness, hot, sandy desert. And then, sort of in the distance, he saw something shimmering on the horizon. He didn't know what it was, probably just another mirage, or perhaps his dehydrated brain playing tricks on him. And as it came closer, it looked like it was a sledge with some dogs pulling it. He thought, the sun's really got to me, I'm going crazy. And as it came closer, it looked to all purposes, it was like an Eskimo on a dog sled with 6 huskies in front. And he thought, I'm losing my mind. It's a mirage. It's just the heat playing tricks on my brain. But as it came really close, he could see it he could hear the dogs barking. And then one of the dogs even licked him on the face. It was real. And there was an Eskimo in furs driving the sled. And he said, I thought I was crazy, but I've been saved by an Eskimo in a dog sled pulled by huskies. Thank you so much. I've been lost in this desert for days. At which the Eskimo said, and you think you're lost? I can't resist telling stupid, inappropriate jokes which have no point to the narrative. So that's what the Eightfold Path does. It restrains those hindrances, so you can be mindful. Preparation, first of all. And you find if you don't keep your precepts, if you don't restrain, it's so hard to be mindful. You can try and force it, but the mind goes all over the place, so you fall asleep, or you get tired, you get headaches because you're forcing too much. So the path to get mindfulness is actually the right view, the right intention or motive, your precepts, the right speech, action, livelihood. If you ever said something really bad and afterwards you're not mindful, you can't watch the breath, you feel so guilty, you keep thinking about what you did and you shouldn't have done it, and whether someone will find out. You can't be really mindful. You've got this guilt and just remorse in your head all the time. But then eventually, just if you keep your precepts, you're a good person. You're so peaceful. You don't own much, nothing much to worry about. So easy to be mindful. It's almost natural. So I say all my precepts, I don't try and keep them. It's my default state. Don't want anything. So how can you not keep precepts? So then when you are free from remorse, keep your precepts, you feel so peaceful, so free, so happy. That's in the gradual training. They call that abhayapaja, sukh happiness. The happiness of a blameless heart. So free, peaceful. And of course, then you just live such a simple day. You don't want anything. Just like you don't want material things, you don't want even spiritual things. Whatever happens is fine. So you sit there not expecting anything, not wanting anything. Perfectly mindful. And then great things happen by themselves. When you're not wanting it, that's when it happens. And that's where the mind gets very, very still. I've already mentioned the simile of sitting under the mango tree with your hand out, not shaking the tree, not climbing the tree, not throwing things out of the tree, perfectly still with your hand out, then the mango falls. Another simile was one of my favourites, it's a golden oldie for those of you who've known this before. It's a simile of the donkey and the carrot. I love that story because it's so apt, so easy to understand. So, donkey and carrot. If you've ever been to many sort of poor countries, apparently still have donkeys over in India, but they used to have that all over Europe, and that was the main means of transportation. Donkey cart, putting people or putting produce. So one day, if you have a donkey, donkeys are really stubborn. You take a stick, you hit the donkey will not move at all. But instead of using the stick to hit the donkey, you tie the stick to the back of the donkey's neck. So the front of the stick is 2 foot in front of the donkey's head. On the end of the stick, you tie a string. On the end of the string, you tie a carrot, if it's a European donkey. If the donkey comes from, say, Penang, you tie a piece of durian. If it comes from, I don't know, from Malaysia, from Singapore, maybe but a little bit of a dumpling or something. Whatever it is you like. So there we go. Singaporean donkey sees a nice dumpling hanging on the end, really steaming, aromatic, just really fresh. The donkey really likes the dumplings from Singapore. So what does a donkey do? Starts moving towards the dumpling. What does the dumpling do? The dumpling moves as well. Because when the donkey moves, so does the stick, so does the string. What's on the end of the string moves as well. So the donkey moves towards the dumpling and the dumpling moves further away. He runs after the dumpling and the dumpling is still 2 foot in front. No matter how fast the donkey moves, still the dumpling moves at the same speed. That is how they get the donkeys to move the cart. That's how they get you to go to work on a Monday morning. Chasing the dumpling or the carrot, or so they get, just work a little bit harder and you get there. Come on, you can see it. Just my retirement, my superannuation. I can just a few more weeks of work, and then I can retire. And you move towards it, and then the government changes the age of retirement, and you've got to. Or they change the tax breaks, and or like sometimes, you instead of actually chasing money, you're chasing nimitta. And you can just see it. You can see the nimitta in front of your mind. With your eyes closed, you see the nimitta there, and you go towards it, and it goes away again. You can see happiness. You can see enlightenment right in front of you. You can see it. You go towards it, and it goes away again. How can you ever catch it? So that is life. Chasing carrots. Always you can see it, you can smell it, but you can't catch it. So, how does a donkey catch the carrot? So simple when you're a smart donkey. You've been running long enough in your life, now you stop. Just like that little novice. Stop. So you sit here and you stop. You stop controlling, craving, wanting, striving, struggling, measuring. Stop everything. What happens? As soon as you stop, you go to sleep, you go restless, fantasies. It gets worse when you stop. That's why people say, Ajahn Brahm, I've got to put some effort in. At least when I put some effort in, I can watch my breath. If I don't put any effort in, I fall asleep. Every time I fall asleep, Ajahn Brahm. Patience. Because what happens with the donkey, as soon as it stops, the carrot goes further away. 4 foot in front of the donkey's mouth. Never been that far away before. But that's when something strange happens. Something like you've never experienced before. Weird. The carrot starts coming towards you. And soon, if you're Singaporean, the dumpling is at its normal place. Just right in front, 2 foot in front. But now it's coming at top speed towards your mouth. You don't do anything, you just sit there and wait. The dumpling does the work. The nimitta comes towards you. The mangoes start falling. Enlightenment just starts coming closer and closer and closer as the dumpling swings right towards your mouth. And the last thing you always have to remember, compassion. It's not just stopping. It's not just sitting still, but open up your hand. Kindness, open the door of your heart. But if you're a donkey, you say, carrot, the door of my mouth is open to you. Come in. Otherwise it just bounces off your teeth. You have to do it all over again. So, that is how you catch carrots. That's how you catch dumplings or durians. That's how you catch nimittas. Stop chasing them, and they come towards you at the right time. That's another nimitta, another jhana, another psychic power, another stage of enlightenment. That's how it works. And that's the Eightfold Path. Stillness. From mindfulness to stillness, and from stillness, all the wisdoms, the insights, they come to you. Don't go chasing them. You'll chase them away. Sit still, and they come to you. That is the Eightfold Path. Very good. Carry on. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. And any questions, we hand it over to the 4 wise nuns and the wise monk. It was only monks we called the wise guys. But the wise girls as well. Very good. The group of 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Very good. Okay, so have a wonderful morning. But you don't have to. It's up to you. Totally free to be miserable. I'll give you permission.